Hey beautiful people, how are you all doing this morning? Or good afternoon, good evening and good night. It's a beautiful day here in Queensland, Australia. It's currently about, 27 degrees Celsius. I'm heading out to Bedezza to see my stepdad Doug, and it's usually about 30, 31, 32, 33 degrees out there, so let's hope we have the aircon on. But I just wanted, there's so much going on the planet, and every day there's new information. Obviously here in Queensland, as of this Friday, we're in the proud position of having segregation day. So at this point we can still buy water, we can still get our electricity, we can still get our licenses, but those things are disappearing across Australia. One of my friend's brothers was in Northern Territory and could not get his license renewed without proof of circumcision. So it's as always, it's a very, very interesting time. What do we do about that? I don't know whether you're hearing about our urea AdBlue crisis here in Australia, which all the farmers that I'm listening to, they're sort of talking about the fact that you can't even grow lettuce without AdBlue. We need whatever this is to put into our diesel to make our cars work. We need it in our diesel to make our generators work. I sort of have, luckily, my sister's car here in Australia at the moment, but we've got a diesel car, so for a few months potentially, we won't have a car that we can get fuel for. Also got 3 motorbikes that are all on petrol as well, so that's sort of interesting. But so that's sort of creating this 1, 2, 3 months of, do we have enough water stored? Because you need electricity. We've got filters at home, but you need electricity for the filters to work, to filter the water. So I'm looking at getting one of those clay water filters and a magnet, because of the environmental pollution and that sort of thing. So you want to be able to get all those toxins out of the water, so that when you're drinking plenty of water because you're thirsty, or anyway, it's sort of just this really bizarre, interesting time here in Australia. Obviously what's happening to our First Nation people, it's very interesting, because I'm hearing some people on the ground who have been very vocal about how they've been treated, how their communities aren't being given the supplies they need. And and you've probably heard all the stories about Howard Springs. So prayers and hugs to all our First Nation people and people going through this across the globe at the moment. There's really interesting measures being taken all over the place. One of my very, very close family members, on the weekend I buried my mum, and that very night someone very close to me was wishing that all non-circumcised people just wish death on them. And this is in an industry where really that should not be the thought. Just saying, I'm not saying what he does for a living, but oh lordy. And so when there's that lack of heart energy, that lack of empathy, that lack of sympathy, that lack of understanding, that people have really strong opinions, beliefs, truths, knowledge, past experiences that are creating the why we're doing everything. Everyone has a why. One way or the other, everyone has a why. People are terrified, people are scared, people are angry. People are just making decisions that's best for themselves, which is, to me, that's how it really should be. But on the other hand, we need to have empathy and sympathy that not everyone agrees with our beliefs. We've got to start from a place of heart energy, of love and compassion and truth and kindness. Because otherwise, how are we going to be moving forward through this? Some of the spiritual people that I'm listening to are, and once again I choose to believe this sort of thing because it makes me okay with what's happening on the planet. The choice of who we choose as our parents, that choice of who we choose in our life, and that choice of, there's a certain level of predestination potentially when we are choosing what life lessons we're choosing to learn. Because without that choice, how do we justify the number of miscarriages going on the planet, the number of children being injured at the moment, the number of suicides because of all the measures that have isolated people for the last 2 years, the amount of people who have lost their jobs and their businesses and their homes and their cars and their livelihoods. It's just been one trauma after another for the last 22 months. It's just gone on for so long. And like I said yesterday, Zach Bush calls it a power-packed 2 years on the planet. And I keep smiling every time I hear that, because I go, okay, people choose their parents. That's a nice way of looking at it. And it's been power-packed. It's making us choose what we're made of. It's making us choose the knowledge we want to move forward in life with. I think I mentioned the analogy that Laurie Ladd had a few weeks ago, and it was about, if you imagine the Earth, our beautiful planet, and it's covered with a spider web, and that spider web is the matrix that we're born into. And many people never get out of that matrix. They're simply living their life. They believe everything they're told, which, and it's easy. You just do what you do. You go out, you work, you play, you love, you live. We have relationships, we lose relationships, we, just all that stuff. But occasionally you get a hint of spirituality, or a hint that something isn't quite right, or a hint that maybe we're being controlled, or a hint that there's been too much shame and guilt, or to make us normal. Just all these little hints, and then a little toe pokes out, or a finger pokes out, or a nose pokes out of this web on the planet, and we start to own a little bit more information. Think, oh, what was that about? What was that? The Courier Mail here in Australia in 2019, one of a very major lead journalist, there was a short clip I saw recently, and he was talking about, since 2001 there's been over 80 laws passed that deny the public the right to know what's going on with our government. And anyone from the media who actually discusses these things can get fined and go to jail. So the integrity of the media is challenged by who they're being paid and bought by, and therefore what that belief system is, and the truth is, and where that money is coming from. It's also by the government as well. So you've got the elites who own the media with their agendas. You've got the governments putting these laws in place that stop them, here in Australia, from speaking out. Now, I couldn't find that clip again. It's a real bummer, because my mum actually she wanted a copy of it. So it's at least 2 weeks ago. But it's very interesting that, this sort of stuff, and I know we're not the only ones in the world with these sort of shenanigans going on. Yeah, but I know it's tough all around the world at the moment. We're watching what's going on in Austria and Germany and Israel and, Scotland and Ireland. I've got friends everywhere who are sort of saying, no, it's the same here, in this area you can't do this and this and this and this and this. And we just have to pray for a million little miracles worldwide, but we have to be the miracle ourselves as well. No one is going to protect us. No one is going to keep us safe. We need to be the miracle. There's another freedom rally on Saturday here in Brisbane, different place this time, Musgrave Park. It's got a bigger space because last time was so massive it just overflowed for blocks, which is amazing and fabulous. So that's my prayer for us all today, for a million little miracle, for ourselves to actually own it and be the miracle. Every time we choose to do something that goes against our soul, we're doing self-harm. Every time we're going against something that's against our belief, we're doing self-harm. And then bit by bit we are traumatizing our heart and soul and mind and body and belief systems, and bit by bit we're suppressing ourselves so that once again we can't get up and own our truth because we've been suppressed so much. So when we've been chatting in the last week about those little integration areas of the brain, don't forget, if you're feeling traumatized, run that central meridian. You can do it 27,000 times a day. And even that little vibration, for me it's vibrational when I'm sort of doing my little chant, 999, 999, 999, 999, 999, 999. For me, 999 is the opposite of 666. And 999 for me is about love and truth and integrity and honesty and peace and grace and moving through life with love and beauty in our hearts. So I know things are tough at the moment. I was just listening to Ricardo Bosi here in Australia, and he once again was talking about how tough it's going to be January, February, March. And I think the same thing's happening. I've heard of places around the world where the army is distributing fuel. I've heard about places in the world where there just is nothing on the shelves in the supermarkets. People aren't allowed to buy things unless they've been double circumcised. So I think this is just going on everywhere, and then you can see what a global, amazing plan they've got up their sleeve. Because when did we ever see every country in the world jump on board with something like this before? Very interesting times. So take care, have a good day. We're just going to have to really look after each other over the next few months. It's going to get, the screws are being tightened. Loved ones are going to, do more.